Retrospectives right here on the Super Review Show Network. I'm joined by my two incredible friends, Kyle and Mike. What's going on, guys?
There you guys.
Yo, what's going
You ready to walk between worlds? I'm just kidding. Um,
on?
no, but as most of you may or may not know, last week after our show, we spun the wheel after um our last episode, and we didn't do it on air, so we didn't announce what it was. But today, this week, we spun the wheel, and there was only two picks left on it, which are both my picks from they're both my picks on the wheel. So then today's episode, as the title of the video suggests and alludes to, is Simple Minds. Yes, that band from the 70s and 80s and whatnot. It's the new wave band Simple Minds, Walk Between Worlds, their 18th, excuse me, studio album from 2018. Just for those of you who don't know, Simple Minds in the U.S. here in the United States where we do our podcast. Simple Minds is known for pretty much "Don't You Forget About Me" and that's it from the Breakfast Club. Their number one hit in the U.S. They're pretty much known for that one song. Um, so the backstory for those you don't, and those you may not remember, we actually reviewed their follow-up album, Direction of the Heart, in 2022, and that came out too. So if you want to go check that out too, we did a Simple Minds review for that as well back then. But this one, I wanted to review this one in particular. I put it on the wheel so we could check it out, and just because it was for whatever reason, when I first got Spotify, here's my little back history for it. If you guys, when I first downloaded Spotify, I think in 2018, I want to say, I have no idea how, but this album cover just struck me immediately. So I said, all right, what? I was like, wait, Simple Minds. At my first thought was, they're still around. What's going on? You know what I mean? Like, because I only thought they were only for, I didn't realize they were still a band. I didn't know they were still going. And this was just the album cover alone. For those who don't know the album cover looks like, just Google Simple Minds Walk Between Worlds. And the album cover actually looks pretty cool. It's like a picture of a guy with like a weird televised like black not black screen, but like I forget the name of it. Like when your TV like has like a bad signal, that's the face of the guy, and it's pretty cool. I really like the artwork, so I was like, all right, let me give this album a shot. And I listened to it then. I was like, wow, that was really something cool. So and I went back to it and I said, I would. This is before long before we did mixed bag retrospectives, but I said let's give it a shot, and so I said, guys, let's put it on the wheel, we'll figure it out. So for those who don't know and live under a rock, Simple Minds is still a band. They are still touring. I don't believe they're touring the U.S. in 2024. I think they announced because they announced a world tour, but they didn't announce the U.S. I think they're going to tour the U.S. by next year. I would like to go see them live personally, not just because of this album, but because I do like their 80s hits. Like aside from "Don't You Forget About Me," like all the things she said, "Alive and Kicking," some of the other big 80s hits as well. But I would like to go see them just to experience something new in my musical knowledge and stuff like that. So that's my knowledge and background on Simple Minds. And this album was yeah, I gotta say, revisiting it when I first listened to the album in 2018, I didn't really think much of it. But after listening to it, going back to it for our stream tonight for our podcast, the more I thought about it, I said, this is actually the production on it holds up really well. And one of the things I was worried about was because the follow-up, the Direction of the Heart, there was not too much instrumentation on it. I think Kyle and Mike and I talked about that last week a little bit. When we were off camera and whatnot, and off podcast. But no, but this is actually an album that I just wanted to just dive into a little bit because to shed some light on this album. And here we go. That's my background for Simple Minds. Let's go into the track listing for a sec. So we're gonna start off with it's actually a pretty quick album, truthfully. If you take out the deluxe edition bonus tracks, it's actually not that bad. Um, all tracks are written by Jim Kerr, who's the lead singer of Simple Minds. He's still going strong. He's in his like 60s, I want to say, maybe late 60s, I forget. But he's still doing well. So let's get right into it, shall we? So the album kicks off with Magic. This is a solid 8 out of 10 for me. I actually really I like the instrumentation on it. I like how it just starts off with that weird synth and then just kicks in like with the weird like synthesizer and the guitar licks in it. I actually really like this one quite a bit. Going back to it, so Magic is actually an 8 out of 10 for me. Summer, um, it's a lot of lyrics are repetitious, like "Here comes summer, here comes rain," but the music behind the lyrics really echoes a little bit more for me than I originally remembered it doing it. Summer is actually 7.5 out of 10 for me. A really good track overall. I do like it more because right now it's August here in the U.S. and it's summertime, so I've been playing it a lot on my summer playlists and stuff like that on Spotify and stuff. Um, really a really good track overall. Like I said, a lot of repetition. on the lyrics, but as far as the music goes, the music is what carried that carried the song for me. And I'm gonna say that throughout most of the record too. But yeah, Summers is a 7.5 out of 10 for me. Utopia wasn't the biggest fan of it on multiple listens over. I did like it though. I'm sitting about a 6.5 out of 10 for Utopia. Again, not gonna repeat myself too much here. Lyrics are there, kind of repetitious a little bit with like some of the choruses and stuff, but still a good, nonetheless, a good song overall. If it was on the background, I'd be like, all right, what's going on? What is this? I might get a kick out of it, whatever. Um, but a 6.5 out of 10 for that. The signal and the noise. When some of these tracks I just forgot about completely because I only knew Magic Summer and the title track and the last track, Sense of Discovery. But I'll get to it in a second. The signal and the noise. I it's just a five for me. It's a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. Like if you cut down like another a minute of it, you probably wouldn't miss much in the song, truthfully. But no, it's still good. It's still good plus nonetheless. Though I give it a 5 out of 10. Um, in Dreams, again, I'm sounding like a broken record already, but like the what carries a lot of these songs for me are the excuse me, are the music behind them, and there's much more instrumentation than most of their other albums, and I really like the production on it too. I don't know who produced it. I'll check in a second, but in Dreams, about a 6.5, maybe 7, could go up to a 7 out of 10, just depending on what mood I'm in. Good track overall, nonetheless. Uh, Borrowland Star, man, this is I forgot, it kind of on multiple listens over, I tended to like skip through the song a little bit just to get because it's 6 minutes and 23 seconds long. I'm not saying that's bad. I love long songs. I love, for a Friend by Elton John and stuff like that. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. But this one, it's kind of drags a little bit here and there. Not bad, not bad nonetheless. We're saying another 5 out of 10 for this one. At 6 minutes and 23 seconds, you think they could actually like shorten it down a little bit, which I'm all for. Like I said, a song could have any length. It could be 15 seconds. It could be 2 hours. It doesn't matter. But this one just felt long at some points for me on this one with Barland Star. Um, Title track. It's actually not a 10 out of 10. It's not. It's not a 10 out of 10. Because for those who listen to us and watch this for any period of time, I'm a title track sucker. Whenever I see a title track, I gravitate towards it. This one was good. It was not great. It wasn't anything super special, but I did like it though on multiple listens. When I go back to it though, not all the time, but I did like it though nonetheless because yes, it was a title track. This one is actually a 6.5 out of 10. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's like a good plus, if you will. I do like the playful the lyrics in there too. I just something about Simple Minds as a band that this is one of the albums that got me more into them too. I should say that too, is the sense of how to explain this. It's like they're playing their lyrics actually are really like are very they're one of the few bands that actually writes really solid lyrics, truthfully overall. And I would love to hear more of their stuff as time goes on. And Sense of Discovery, it kind of ends. It's about a 7 out of 10. It goes slightly up a little bit from Walk Between Worlds. It's not bad, but it's not great nonetheless. Sense of Discovery kind of has like it has like a big ending to it, like a big the last probably like I think what a minute and a half of it is like very, very it's like symphonic. It's got some strings in there. Great stuff overall. But it's it's a 6.5 out of 10. It does end on a really like not a bombastic, but just like a strong note overall. I did like it though quite a bit though when I on multiple listens, but it's very like I would say this album is very front loaded for the first couple songs, and then it kind of like peters off as time goes on. So I'm really glad we got to spin on this wheel and go to this album because I wanted to and I'm curious to see what Kyle and Mike have to say in a second. But overall for me, Simple Minds 2018's Walk Between Worlds, just a really good album with some deeper cuts in their catalog that are really kind of underrated. Like if you go to Spotify, you look at the streaming numbers for Magic and Summer, they actually have for a band that's not that mainstream in the US, they actually have about 1 million streams per song, and that's not saying much. But for this type of material and that those songs, it's actually pretty good. If you know anything about Spotify and how streaming works and stuff like that, it's actually pretty significant that those songs even like have over 1 million streams to begin with. But nonetheless, for Simple Minds Walk Between the Worlds, an album that I really wanted to get into, an album that I was hoping that we could review at some point, and truthfully, just to dive into more of. I would have to say the production on it's incredible. I got to see who the producer was in a second. But basically, I'm saying I'm probably like a 7.5 out of I can't go up to an 8. As much as I enjoy the record, and as much as I enjoy the album, the promotional stuff, and like I did some research on the tour and stuff like that too. I can't go up to an 8, but I can definitely do a 7.5 out of 10 for this record. It when it's good, it's really good. But when it does peter off though as the album goes on progressively to my liking. But still, I think if you're looking for a an album to dive into that you by a band that's been doing it for so long, like since like I think 1978, I think they've been around. Definitely check out Walk Between Worlds by Simple Minds. Nonetheless, I think it's a good plus album nonetheless. It's one more quick backstory. I actually I texted a friend of mine. We text each other like songs all the time off Spotify and stuff like that, and he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah." And I sent him Summer off this album. He's like, Simple Minds, who's that? And I said, then I sent him Don't You Forget About Me. He's like, they're still around. They're in the US. If you have a chance to listen to more Simple Minds, this is I would personally recommend you get into if you can. It's on Spotify. Check it out. It doesn't have a lot of love on Spotify because it's a 2018 album by them. It's fairly new in the grand scheme of things. But nonetheless, a 7.5 out of 10 for me for Simple Minds Walk Between Worlds. I just want to see the producer really quick because it was actually the production on it was really solid. Oh,
It's kind
Simple
of funny
Minds.
what you gave it is what the score is if you go up there, at least whatever I saw.
Oh, it's a 7. Is right on
Yeah.
Metacritic. That's convenient. So how about that?
That's
I,
about what you gave it.
I didn't realize it's good plus. That's the best way I could put it. The Simple Minds, Andy Wright and Gavin Goldberg producers. That's what I wanted to just see that for a sec. Yeah. Anyways, I digress. Let's jump over to let's end with Mike. Let's go over to Kyle for a second. Kyle, what do you got for this album? With I know you're not the biggest fan, but I want to see what you have to say about Simple Minds Walk Between Worlds. What do you got, bud?
Yes, I mean the only other full-length album from them I personally listened to was the one that we talked about on this channel. I think that was their latest album from a couple of years back. Um,
Hmm.
Name of it
I
is
believe it was
escaping me
called
right now.
Direction of the it's called Direction
Direction.
of the Fart.
Yep,
Direction
that
of the
sounds
yeah.
about right
Oh,
to me.
of the heart,
That
excuse me. I'm sorry.
that first one sounds about right from what I'm remembering how much I like that one. Um, yeah, and that was very lackluster. So I didn't go into this one with high hopes. And very cool album cover. I'll give you that one, JT. This album cover is very good. That's kind of where my enjoyment with this record ends, though. I'm going to be honest with you. I've never really had an album give me album fatigue after the second song before. But I mean, this is like 50 minutes almost of oh, it could be one continuous song, if I'm going to be honest. Like, if you just told me this is one 50-minute song, I would have said, okay, sounds about right. There's virtually no tempo changes throughout this record. It's all just one mid-tempo synth pop, uh, track list going on. So, I mean, you start with Magic. It's a 5, and a lot of them on here are going to be right down the road for me because there's nothing offensively bad about this song. It's just background type music to me. There's really not much happening. I personally thought the chorus was kind of lame. Felt lyrically kind of lame. Repeats a little too much with not enough payoff on it. There's a cool couple ideas here and there that I wish that they did more with. Like there's some guitar licks in there that really could be cool ideas if they fleshed it out more, but then it all just immediately goes right back into that same I believe in magic chorus. And every time they do something cool, it just boils right back into that. Uh, so we start off with that. Then Summer, it also sits at a 5 for me. It's more just kind of background music, and it's just so similar to the song before it. It's fine in the background. Also, just boils everything down into the same chorus over and over. I wanted it to go more places. The first time or two I heard the chorus, I was like, it's a pretty good chorus, and it just kept happening. I think some of the songs on here could have benefited from being slashed about a minute or so. If they're not going to take things into different places, then I would shorten them up. Utopia, here's about where I started getting the album fatigue. This one not as good as the first two. This one was the first one I would actively skip. This is a 4. It's the most mind-numbing song yet. I found this one just be incredibly boring. The chorus I thought was pretty lame. And Signal and the Noise, by far least favorite. This one really didn't like. Again, could be the album fatigue at this point getting me to hate it that much. This is a 3. everything on this song just felt super predictable. Like before things happened, I was like, okay, here's where we go to the chorus. Here's where this happens. Here's where this synth sound happens. And I was right pretty much every time. Uh, Picks up a little bit when you get to In Dreams. This kind of sits in like a similar boat to me as Utopia does. It's a little bit more interesting than Signal and the Noise. But again, this one's just kind of like a schlock to get through. It's more of the same that I've heard from the previous four songs. But the one standout, not a song that I would necessarily go back to, but Barrowland Star, however you want to say it. This is a 6 out of 10 for me. It's definitely the most interesting song on the album, I thought. It's not something that I would actively go out and seek to listen to, but kind of wish they did a little bit more with the ideas presented. But having said that, I thought that it was pretty decent. This is actually the first chorus that I thought actually had something to it, and I thought I enjoyed this one. And then we go immediately back to the same old from every other song here on the title track, Walk Between Worlds. It's middle of the road again, has some cooler elements like those orchestral parts that they throw in here and there. But I wish they did more with it again. I don't, it just kind of feels like on here, and production wise, I'll give you that too, JT. Production wise, this album sounds great. They did a great job producing it. It sounds modern. It's sleekly done. It's done well. But I feel like on a song like this, there just could have been more things done with those orchestral elements. And then we just kind of end on Sense of Discovery, which I feel the same about to all the others. But this one, interestingly enough, sounds like a Disney montage that would play in an animated movie while characters are running through a forest. And it's fine. So, I mean, to me, this
Yes.
album, other than a couple missteps here
Wait, what
and
did you
there,
give the last song?
a five,
Five. Okay. What did you give In Dreams?
four.
Okay, I didn't hear you were just
Yeah,
kind
yeah, that
of
was four. So other than a couple of missteps here and there, it sounds fine. Uh, it's pretty standard synth pop. It's there. So many of these songs just sound familiar. It's just album fatigue after album fatigue throughout. The tempo really needed to change up more here and there. Uh, the over reliance on choruses throughout this was also severely detrimental for me. I just felt like every single time they did something that could be cool, it was like, well, instead of taking it here, we're bringing it right back to the same chorus you've heard X amount of times throughout the tracks. And as a passive listen, it's fine. Like if I had this on in the background, I wouldn't complain if I was just driving and this was on. No complaints for me. But as an active listen, like if you're just sitting there actively listening to this, it needs way, way more. So with that said, I'm gonna go with a 4.5 for this one. Almost went for a five, but just having an album that sounds like it could be unintentionally one long song, I had to dock it a little bit for that. So 4.5.
All right, and Mike loves that synth pop stuff.
So it's interesting. I had to go back and re-listen to, some of the songs the previous catalog, the one from Breakfast Club, and then re-listen to Direction of the Heart, just kind of just to hear what they were going for. And I feel like in order to know where this album stands, you have to know where they went and where they came from. It's kind of just like know your history, know your future. So to kind of take those things into perspective, I kind of came up with the understanding to myself that I really wasn't a fan of their previous work either, which a lot of people, have a strong opinion on. Not that it was bad, it's just not my taste. I kind of don't like his vocals, even in the past. And there's a couple bands that can pull off those gothic kind of vocals, like David Bowie, or like some of these 80s kind of groups were doing at the time, gothic kind of feel to them. Maybe a little Billy Idol, maybe like there's another band called the 69 Eyes. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. Kyle, you may have heard of them, but like they have that deep kind of like Dracula-esque type of vocals. And coming into this album, that was something actually I began to listen to their most recent album and then compare the vocals on this album. And the vocals were much more shaky, much more almost like an old man would sing. Like it just kind of gave me that vibe. Like when he does his vibrato, it just gives me that feeling like an older man singing. So it kind of put me off on a lot of these songs. And um I listened to Direction of the Heart and I liked the sound of the vocals better on that. I don't know what they were doing on this one as much. Production wise, the album is okay. It's fine. Sometimes I feel like it's a little unsure of which element of the music wants to take the driver's seat. Like, is it the beat or is it the synths and the orchestral element? Like, they're all like vying for the front seat, and sometimes I feel it's a little overwhelming. Kind of I'm not able to latch on to a part of the song that I want. It's just I'm kind of beaten in with everything. So yeah, so just starting off with Magic. I'm like I was saying before, I'm not a fan of that electronic beat in combination with the regular drums of the song. It feels like it's a little all over the place, a little messy. I agree with you, Kyle. It's just kind of like it kind of strikes one note. It doesn't ever change cadence or pace or like do anything really like it doesn't take any risks. It's pretty predictable. It's a 5 out of 10 straight down the middle. The melodies weren't super like latching onto me. It really didn't stick in my head. It was kind of just there. And then we go on to Summer. Now, like I said, the vocals do very little heavy lifting here. And that this for the style of music they're trying to pull off. It reminds me of bands like Stabbing Westward, these kind of tech rock, techno, whatever, call them like um, electronic whatever. And it just the beat in the background does not match up well here, and it's just the vocals just really put me off. This one's a 4. I just did not enjoy this song, and I kind of differ from you, JT, where like I felt the front of this album for me was the weakest. Cause Utopia, I got some U2 vibes with his voice, weirdly enough,
Yep.
and then like uh some of the vocal lines, like I said, it was just like overall, the vocals really do not help the song. This is like a boring song in my
Mhm.
manner. It was just like very, it just did not go anywhere and it just repeated the same things. Um, this one is a 4 as well. I just did not really super love this one. And we're kind of like you know, beating the drum here, the same drum, the signal and noise. Just not a memorable chorus. Not really a memorable. Actually, the chorus is not too bad, but it definitely has atmosphere over like the melody that is intriguing me. The melody's okay, the atmosphere I think is a plus, but it falls short on those other elements. And that's kind of like how I felt about the beginning of the album. And then we take a little bit of an uptick here in Dreams. I actually thought that I actually really liked the chorus here. It's catchy. I like the layering of the beats, and this one felt a little overwhelming though. Like I was saying, too many elements all kind of trying to take front seat. But vocally, it's kind of a mess. There's like they got the background singers, they have the main singer, they have a lot going on. And sometimes I don't feel like that synth and the beat know which one is in the driver's seat here. But still, I actually this one got a little more stuck in my head. I gave this one a 7 out of 10. It's one of my more favorite tracks on the album. Um, and then we kind of just go back down the middle of the road for Barrowland Star. Um, Momentum wise, it needs help. It needs to be able to pick up the pace and change directions, like Kyle's kind of saying. It kind of drags a little long for what you'd expect from a song like this. It really doesn't have any kind of thing that captures me or anything. It's just a 5. And then Walk Between Worlds. I liked this song at first, but then as I listened to it more, it kind of fell down a little bit. I liked the open orchestral, and I expected more from that, but then it just kind of did the exact same thing it was doing before. It started off with like an interesting opening with this kind of building orchestra and orchestral kind of movement, and then it just does a couple little things with a memorable guitar lick here and there, but overall, I liked it less, and I kind of settled in at a 6.5 for that one. And then my most favorite track on this entire album is Sense of Discovery. I like the interesting change of pace vocals, how he's not just doing the same vocals, like he's doing like little changes in the cadence. I really like the atmospheric layering, the guitars, the synths are all doing this under those faster little beat vocals that are in beats and vocals they got going on. And as awkward as his vocals are at times, it fits with this song, and I gave it an 8 out of 10. It's actually a pretty catchy little song, especially that little vocal line they're doing. It kind of reminds me of another song. I can't put my finger on it. Um, and yeah, so I did happen to review the others. Silent Kiss was a 6.5, just the bonus stuff for the sake of doing it. And Angel Under My Skin was a 6. And yeah, I like the memorable quality of the vocals in Silent Kiss, but like it's repetitive. It repeats that kind of cadence a little too much, and then just kind of like the whole song has the same kind of vocal, doesn't change up in Silent Kiss. And then underneath Angel Under My Skin, automatically good with the backing vocals. Like I like the atmospheric nature to it, but like it's a little mess. It's a little bit of a mess. So, but just for the first 8 that we had, I would just go right down that middle. It's just a 5. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I like some things they're going for. It's got the shaky vocals. It's got the combination of the beats, the synths, the backing vocals, all kind of trying to create an element or an atmosphere. And like Simple Minds Walk Between Worlds, it feels more like a walk in space where there's no sign of home. You're just kind of like, it just kind of feels like there's no definition to what they're trying to go for. It's got some cool grooves, cool beats. It feels cooler than you'd think a band in this point of their career would be, which is interesting. Which I think was why it has such a resurgence on Spotify and stream, because I feel like if with kids who are into EDM and they're into kind of this music that captures a certain time and era of sound, it could really come off good to somebody who enjoys EDM music, or music with like an 80s kind of flair to it, 80s yeah, like that gothic feel. And like only towards the end do I feel the songwriting and the demonstration of the band's ability to shake up its techniques that it's using to like write a song feel like they're present. Like Sense of Discovery with its varied vocals and layering, and then Barrel and Star had some of that too. The album creates some cool musical landscapes to ski across, but at times it feels like it can't truly find the right melodies to fill the gaps within the world it's creating with that atmosphere. So it has some good things, but it just is unable to capitalize or find the others. So yeah, it's a 5 out of 10 for me.
All righty, you heard it here first. Those are our ratings. Yeah, and yeah, it was overall like I wanted to pick this one for you guys before we wrap it up. I wanted to pick this one for you guys because it was just a unique pick for me. The album cover, you got it with the album cover is pretty crazy cool, like with the TV
Yeah,
thing.
it's definitely
Pretty cool. Those you haven't seen, just Google like Super Minds Walk Between Worlds.
Are you
Anything
sure that's not just a picture of you? The hair like looks almost. Are you sure that did you actually lend your likeness to the band? You can tell us. You don't have to.
I actually no, but I think that's Jim
Okay.
Kerr, exactly, believe it or not, behind there. So,
Who?
and Jim Kerr, the lead singer.
I thought you said Jim Carrey. I was like, okay.
No,
Yeah,
no,
so I thought.
From The
no,
Mask. He's
not,
taking the mask off.
not quite. Anything else, guys? We're good, right?
Yep.
That's all she
We
wrote.
need to spin the wheel, or we're going to do
I
next week.
don't. I think next week we planned on doing was it Post Malone's, not Austin.
Post Malone, yeah.
What was it called again?
What,
Post
the album?
Malone's.
Yeah, the name of the album, Post Malone. Yeah.
Oh, F1 Trillion.
Yes, thank you. So next week we're gonna be doing Post Malone was putting on, was it this Friday, right? So we're doing
Last
it
Friday.
last Friday. Thank you. Sorry. I'm all over the place. I'm watching this
A double album, by the way.
Oh boy. So we have a double album to review next week for Post Malone. Thanks so much for watching and listening. However, you enjoyed us tonight. So next week's gonna be Posty's new release, his double country album, which should be a lot of fun. We'll see how that goes. We want to thank you for watching. Listening. However, you enjoyed us tonight. Kyle, Q&A podcast is not back yet, right? It is back, right?
I was gonna post an episode yesterday or no, today, and I forgot. So probably next week.
Next week, look for the Q&A podcast back next week. And Mike is just doing great as always. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, listening. However, you enjoyed us tonight. Don't forget to follow us on our social media pages as well. Simply at the Super Review Show, Instagram, Facebook, like us, follow us, whatever you gotta do. Yeah, thanks so much for watching. For all of us at the Super Review Show, stay safe, take care, and